Keys to the Shop, episode 155, a conversation with T-Ben Fischer, founder of Glitter Cat Barista. Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of Keys to the Shop, where we give you insights, inspiration, and the tools you need to grow as a coffee service professional. My name is Chris DeFurio. I'm your host for the show. Thank you so much for joining me. Really great conversation in store for you today with T-Ben Fischer, founder of Glitter Cat Barista. It's really great to get to talk to him about the program at Glitter Cat, what he's accomplished, and what we can learn from his experiences taking on this project to create change in the competitions. So definitely a great one today. If you have not yet subscribed to Keys to the Shop, I would encourage you to go ahead and hit subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. That way you will never miss an episode. If you have the time also to rate or review this show, that would be awesome as well. And as always, sharing episodes with friends helps spread the love and the information. And there's so many great guests and ideas that are shared on Keys to the Shop that need to be spread around the industry. So whenever you get inspired by listening to an episode, be sure to share it with your friends so they can be inspired as well. Now, speaking of inspiring people, I want to talk to you today a little bit about Prima Coffee. They're one of the sponsors of this show, and they do such an amazing job curating the best equipment from all over the globe just to fit perfectly with the needs of both their commercial and their enthusiast customers. People from all over the world who want to make great coffee at home or want to outfit their shops with fantastic equipment to achieve really amazing coffee consistently. This is the place that they turn to, Prima Coffee. The goal at Prima Coffee is to help you succeed in making great coffee, and they really make it easy with the line of equipment that they carry at their website, prima-coffee.com. They support you with a ton of great resources like videos and tutorials on how to use the equipment and get the most out of it. So if you're looking for the best equipment for your shop and the expert assistance that you need to go along with it, then I would look no further than prima-coffee.com. Reach out to them via email or phone. Let them know that Keys to the Shop sent you, and thank you so much, Prima, for your support of Keys to the Shop. Now, this episode is also brought to you by the fantastic Pacific Barista series. This is the line of non-dairy performance beverages that are designed specifically for professional baristas and the standards for excellence that they demand. So whether you're on the bar using soy, coconut, rice, almond, or oat milk, its ability to take the heat from steaming and produce an unmatched, silky, latte art ready texture and keep the flavor balance focused on coffee. All of that makes it just a perfect choice for your cafe's menu. Pacific is a really big supporter of the specialty coffee industry and the barista community. These beverages were designed in tandem with a heavy feedback from baristas around the world. And this is just a testimony to the fact that Pacific wants us to succeed in specialty coffee. And using these products are definitely one of the steps to helping you succeed in your coffee shop. So I would encourage you to go to pacificfoods.com and see how the Barista Series line of plant-based performance beverages can really help elevate the non-dairy offerings you give to your customers. Thank you so much, Pacific, for your support. Keys to the Shop. All right, so today we get to talk with the founder of Glitter Cat Barista, T-Ben Fischer. T-Ben has been a coffee professional for 6 years and participated in his first coffee competition 10 months after becoming a barista. Most recently, as a barista at Elixir Coffee Company in Philadelphia, he placed second at the USBC in 2018 and third at the USBC in 2019. He had really energetic, eye-popping presentations that included things like dry ice strawberry fog, jasmine vapor, and Disney tunes. In the fall of 2018, T-Ben created Glitter Cat Barista Bootcamp, which is a barista competition training program for members of marginalized and underrepresented communities. In the first year of Glitter Cat, it saw 4 of the 10 participants advance from qualifiers to nationals, where 2 first-time competitors made it to semifinals and 1 third-year competitor made it to the finals. That's really huge. He currently is based in New York City as a coffee and retail trainer for Blue Bottle Coffee, where he's raising 2 rambunctious kittens, Axel Cat and Other Cat, with his boyfriend. So I'm excited to have T-Ben on the show. This conversation is really going to help inspire you to do what T-Ben has done, to take action on a issue that is near and dear to your heart. T-Ben has taken action on the lack of representation for marginalized people and underrepresented people in barista competitions, and has really made an impact in the first year. And that's really inspiring. And I think diving into his story, the story of what went into the formation of this, some of the things that you should be aware of when you take on a challenge like this yourself. This conversation is meant to be instructional and inspiring, and I hope you really get a lot out of this. So without further ado, let's go right into my conversation with the founder of Glitter Cat Barista, T-Ben Fischer. T-Ben, welcome to Keys to the Shop. Honored to have you on the show.
Oh, it's great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So you've had quite a busy year. How are you feeling at the end of such a successful venture? Surprised
and good. It's been a year of a lot of learning, a lot of having crazy ideas and seeing some fall apart and some come together, and learning that the support of people is really special. So it's currently sitting in New York City, and it's like 75 and sunny, so feel pretty excellent right now.
Yeah, I imagine so. It's nice when it's that way in New York. So I wanted to talk a little bit about your professional background, and we're going to dive into Glitter Cat and all the details, and I can't wait. And I just want to learn a little bit more about where you're coming from professionally. So give us a story about like your professional background. You got into coffee, and what roles have you had, and what brought you to this place?
I started in a not so creative way, probably, as most people, not most, a lot of people's stories start as a job to get through college. So I was in college, needed a job I could work in the morning before classes, and fell into a local coffee shop in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, which is where I was finishing my college career. And I think like a month in, I learned about barista competitions from my trainer there. And he asked if I wanted to do it. And so 10 months later, I was on the barista competition stage for the first time. Said blueberry like 27 times. It was, I actually went back and watched it last year, and it was really entertaining to watch. And the biggest thing I saw was just like this, like raw and real excitement that I was sharing. I was just really excited to share this crazy coffee with the judges. And that's really what kept me, coming back to coffee, where I knew before I even graduated college that I was going to get my degree and then pursue a full-time career in coffee. So it's been a few more years at that shop, and then got a job in Philadelphia where I was mostly managing. So I went from baristaing to being a cafe manager. And I spent the last 2 years at a shop in Philly called Elixir Coffee Roasters, where it's like a local Philly shop. So it's, everyone kind of wears a lot of hats. So I was barista competitor / barista. I was a manager for a hot second. Kind of floated in and out of roles there, kind of according to what the cafe needed. And now, as of like 10 days ago, probably not even, I am one of the New York coffee and retail trainers for Blue Bottle in New York City.
Hey, congrats.
Thank you. I'm on my second week of cafe work, so diving into what it means to be a barista at Blue Bottle. So it's been really fun to have a bunch of like cafe staff train me and get me tied into what those cafes look like. And let me tell you, Midtown Manhattan cafes are incredibly busy.
You don't say.
Yeah, shocking. So yeah, that's kind of like how I got started in coffee. And then when I really decided to stay in it was after like my 4th year of coffee competition. The community that had developed around the people I had met and the coaches I had and the friends that had developed from there really kind of kept me pursuing what my next step in coffee could be. Because actually when I moved to Philadelphia, I was looking at stepping out of the coffee industry and going to get my master's in social work. But coffee competitions actually is what kept me in the industry, which is kind of cool.
Nice. Well, glad to still have you in coffee.
Happy to be here.
Yeah. So in this career, how many years is it now being in coffee?
Right around 9 minus 2 is 7. Right around 7.
Nice. So you've gotten to see a lot of different elements of the coffee retail side of things, and as you described, just being in a lot of different roles, wearing a bunch of different hats, and getting into competition. This is kind of the avenue that Glitter Cat addresses for baristas. It's also helps people build their career, but focus through competition. What was it that made you decide to start Glitter Cat in the course of your career? Like, what was the moment when you decided that you needed to take action on the problems that Glitter Cat solves in representation in coffee competitions and beyond, I guess?
I think to answer that question, I need to go back to what competitions did for me and like why that importance came. And it really was that I had found a path to generating a really strong, really exciting, really competitive group, community, where there's so many different ways you can build community in the coffee industry and outside of it, from local gatherings, local coffee event throwdowns, panel discussions, coffee fests, things like that. And I had really found my niche on the competition stages, learning from the people around me and meeting a ton of different people from a ton of different walks of life. And then when I took second in 2018 at USBC, it was kind of the catalyst of me being like, do you know what? I really, really want to win this thing. And I now see that I have the capability to do it. And where before, and even now, like imposter syndrome is prevalent. But walking away from that season, I knew that I wanted to come back and try and win in 2019, but I didn't feel comfortable doing that without trying to make some kind of change with the issue with representation in barista competition. Which, background for folks that don't know, there have been years where all the finalists or all the semifinalists have been straight cis white men taking up the stages and having little to no representation sometimes of all the other different people that we have in the industry. I really wanted to try and make some kind of changes, and I sat down and started brainstorming about what is missing and how could I be a part of that change. Thought about the main reason I took second that year was that I had access to resources, where that was my first year competing with Elixir Coffee, and the owner really wanted us to do well, and he invested in me, and we hired coaches. So Pete Licata and Holly Baston became my coaches that year, and with that direct access to just incredibly smart and well decorated coffee competition coaches, I was able to apply the education and the resources that gave me to perform and present this something that I was really excited about and did well. And I wanted to find a way to bring those resources to people who may or may not have a company that's financially backing them in that.
That's really, really great. I have been telling people years past, there was a time when it only cost $50 to compete in the barista competitions.
Wow, that's so cheap compared to now.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking thousands of dollars of money that, baristas don't really make that much money. You're talking about the problem of representation in the competitions. It's a weird thing because so much of our coffee community is, in the coffee shops. It doesn't necessarily look that way, and in a lot of cases it does, but the community itself, as it is, globally, is much more diverse. And so you saw this and said you needed to do something about it. You brainstormed taking action. Is that something that you just naturally are prone to do, is to sit down and take action on a problem? Is that something that's just characteristic of you?
Yeah, I'd say yeah to that.
As you were talking about how you got into coffee and you're wanting to get your master's in social work, I just can't help draw a parallel between working in a social work setting and in helping solve a problem, take action on a problem, mediate a solution, right? And what you're doing with Glitter Cat.
Yeah, I think that's a really great connection. When I launched Glitter Cat publicly, one of my good friends, she's actually a social worker, she called me and she goes, "I'm so excited that you have found a way to apply what you went to school for and what you're passionate about with what you're now passionate about." And she really kind of showcased to me that a lot of what I learned getting the social work degree has really helped me in developing Glitter Cat, from like reaching out to sponsors and learning how to draft grant requests and sponsorship requests, and just kind of how to navigate some things that are difficult to ask for, such as money. Is not comfortable asking people for money, but that's kind of the nature of what certain organizations need is fundraising.
Yeah, that's awesome that it kind of worked out that way, and that your friend made that connection. Also, it just seems like of the moment and very timely. So take us into the creation of Glitter Cat and the goal of the take us into the creation of Glitter Cat and sort of how it works, what its goals are, and the challenges that you faced starting it. Like you mentioned, it's not easy asking for money, and I wonder if there's some other challenges that you also faced.
Mm-hmm. So Glitter Cat is the barista competition training program for members who self-identify as coming from a marginalized community. And we keep that definition pretty broad. Like we really want Glitter Cat to be open to those who feel that they need it and they deserve it. And there's a lot of people who do need and deserve to come to be a Glitter Cat. So we launched for the 2019 coffee competition season. Our first boot camp was in October in 2018. And it was all kind of a really fast process. So USBC 2018 ended in April, like around April 20th or so. And then in June was World of Coffee in Amsterdam. And I had the incredible opportunity to go to Amsterdam and do a bunch of volunteering at the World Barista Championship. And between April and June, I kind of had this idea of Glitter Cat. And then when I was there, I talked to Sarah Allen of Barista Magazine and was like, "Hey, like I have this idea. Do you think anyone would be interested in offering free training to marginalized folks to help increase diversity and representation on the barista competition stages?" And she pulled aside Isaac Cohen from Ernex, and we just started talking for like 3 hours. Like they were like giving me a ton of resources, pushing back on certain ideas, accentuating other ones. And it kind of snowballed, and I went home from Amsterdam and just started writing. That was in like middle of June. And by August, we had applications open online. So most of our information is done on Instagram. So a lot of just story promotion, post promotion, and then we have a website attached with everything. But that's kind of our main source of advertising, if you will, be social media. And then moved into the boot camp. And during that time, I had to really learn that it is okay and encouraged and necessary to just ask for anything and everything you want. And there isn't an ask too big, because the worst thing someone's going to say is no, or I can do half of what you're asking for me. And referencing fundraising specifically, running Glitter Cat, our goal was to keep it free for the trainees. So we wanted to fly them in, we wanted to house them, we wanted to feed them, we wanted to give them this training, give some coffee, give wares if they needed it. And that for 10 trainees, that took a significant amount of financial support from coffee companies. And so I would spend 3 to 4 days a week on the phone with certain coffee companies, non-coffee companies, trying to find different avenues of financial support, and also finding ways that Glitter Cat could then in turn support our sponsors. We want to make it really effective for everyone involved.
And it's definitely challenging too, because you're working during that time and spending all that time putting calls out there and creating this program. It must have been a pretty big challenge.
It definitely is a balancing act. Yeah. So at the same time of developing that initial program, I was also thinking about what is competition the next year for myself, because I was planning on competing as well. So I was developing a boot camp to train while also training, which was really cool, because then kind of fast forwarding a little bit, when we were at the competition, the Glitter Cats were there to support me as well, which was really special. It was just a team. Like we were the Glitter Cats, and we were there to compete, and we were there to do anything that we could for each other. And we were from all over the United States. And I've never had in coffee competitions that kind of team where in one weekend we were supporting 5 to 7 of us. And there was a lot of running around, a lot of tasting, and a lot of over caffeination and tummy aches from a lot of milk, but we made it. I think you had mentioned kind of the structure of the boot camp itself. It was 2.5 days, and we had some all-star instructors that donated their time to come in. So just to kind of name them, it was Layla Gambari, Pete Licata, Holly Baston, Erica Voney, and Lum Butler. So they all came in, donated their time, and like walked us through from start to finish how to be successful in a barista competition while holding true to yourself, and seeing how to really start changing what the top tiers of this competition looks like.
So what was the response from the participants? Mostly
positive. One of them said, he said there's a reason it's called a boot camp, because it is exhausting. The biggest response that we saw was, it's a competition training program that was built with one of the end goals being to try and win a barista competition. The main benefit that we saw was friendships being made, in really unique ways. Where we spent 3 days, 3 very long, action-packed days, in stressful situations at the boot camp itself. And I think there's some really special bonds that get formed in situations like that. When you're in close quarters, you spend all day, every day together, you share meals together, you start brainstorming questions with each other, and build some really special relationships. And then from there, we went to the competitions themselves, which is even more intense. And everyone has their scripts that they're running through, pointing people into corners to run through a script one final time before you call time and go on stage. Mm-hmm. And then the technical skills that get developed in those moments was also really important. And it led to some success in the program, where we had trainees from being in coffee from 4 months to over 7 years. So we had a wide variety of talents. And 2 of the trainees this year had made it to USBC once before, and the other 8 were first-time competitors. And that was really our goal. Like when we were doing our selection process, which wasn't me, we had I had a panel of a committee that they poured through the 56 applications. And because I don't want that responsibility, that terrifies me. But we really kind of separated it into, we want to provide training to as diverse of a group as possible. And part of that was skill level. So we had like 3 people who were super new to coffee, new to competition, 3 people who were kind of, like pretty well experienced professionals, but newer to the competition stage. And then, 3 that were like more experienced competitors was kind of the idea. And those numbers shifted around a little bit in the final grouping or in the final class, but, that was kind of the ethos behind that selection process as well.
So when they got to the competition, And you mentioned it's a boot camp, which means it's difficult. And in the moment, I imagine it's hard to see how, I mean, either, academically, you might say, yes, I concede it is going to be difficult in competition, but did it really click, like, this is why it was so intense once they got to the competition stage, like, oh yeah, that's why we had to do all that?
Yeah, I think you bring up a really excellent point. I think there's a lot of parallels to be drawn there, where with competition weekend, you really are in the thick of it for 48 to 72 hours, like leading up to when you call time to the 12 to 24 hours after you call time as you wait for awards. And so I think that's a really good parallel to draw. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. It's one of those things, like a balancing act. I think what you're doing is taking people and equipping them and giving them resources, but it's like, almost like teaching them that part of it is that they are a resource as well to themselves, like to get them the confidence that's inside them to just bolster what they already have and put it out on the stage. And sort of like what you were saying in the beginning of our conversation about how excited you were to share that coffee with the judges during your first competition that was authentically you. So it seems like what you're accomplishing here is not just to say, here, say these things, do these things, and then you'll win. It's like you get to win by, being yourself and, also technically proficient.
That is precisely a lot of what we talked about. So Holly, one of my coaches and good friend, like, she's wonderful. Before I went on stage for 2018, which up until this point, I had never made finals, and my goal that year was to make finals. She handed me a pin that said "less bitter, more glitter," which is all over Glitter Cat's Instagram. It's kind of one of our saying, "less bitter, more glitter." And she goes, "Just be yourself." She goes, "You know exactly what you're doing. You know how to pull espresso. You know your script. You know your flavor calls. You know all of this. You have spent months building this presentation to represent you and who you are as a barista and who you are as a coffee professional. And now it's time to go show the judges who T-Ben is. Go be T-Ben on that stage." And she goes, "And this pin is a reminder for you to do that."
Oh man, that's sweet. That's great.
Yeah, it really was special. And a lot of what we talked about was not catering yourself to the score sheet, but catering the score sheet to yourself. And saying, like, you can get all of these points and be exactly who you are and do well in this competition. Because for years I was told that I needed to be less myself to do well. When I compete, I like to have fun. I really want to put the judges in a good spot, put the audience in a good spot. So I played Disney music. One year I had remixed dance club Disney music, which I wouldn't do again, but in the moment. I think we also learn how to, how to represent ourselves. And I think also, in that realm, there are risks you take. And I've seen fellow competitors get hit on being themselves on stages and lose points because they were seen as unprofessional or not in line with the rules. And that is something that we are also fighting to change. And I think as we continue to see more diversity on the stages, people representing themselves, their cultures, their backgrounds, judges and the competitions committees are really going to have to start analyzing the rules and how they're written, how they're interpreted, and how they're perceived. Because they were written by white men in 2002, and they've evolved quite a bit over the last 20 years. I don't know if they were written in 2002, so but early 2000s.
Back in the day.
Yeah. And we're seeing the committees listening and starting to change things slowly. And this last year, bias training was launched for the judges, where all judges have to go through unconscious and conscious bias training. And that is a program that the competitions committee is continuing to develop and hope to make it more effective. But sometimes being on yourself on stage has hurt people in the past. And I do see that things are slowly changing, but it is painful to watch when someone gets told that their music is inappropriate or that they're loud and aggressive and intense and condescending when they're just being themselves. And that's part of what Glitter Cat wants to help fight against, where we were there for as many comic calibrations afterwards as possible, and we can hold the judges accountable, where it's like, that's not rules-based feedback. And if there's enough of, like, there just shouldn't be unrules-based feedback on these score sheets. And kind of like I'm getting to is the more diversity, the more representation, the more people we see on these stages, the more we're going to start seeing some active changes in how these rules and how these score sheets are panning out.
Sure. Yeah. And it's interesting to hear you talk about this, because so much of what being a barista is about is being a authentic voice of hospitality to your community where the shop is located, and that's different for wherever you happen to be in the States or globally. So with a competition like this one, it really tends to make people want to edit themselves heavily already. And we as humans, I think, tend to do that to please people, right? And so
yeah,
that's you're to score points. And if it's like being a manager, you really do need to tell baristas that it's okay to give you feedback and it's a safe place for feedback, and repeat that and institutionalize it. And that's why I think, the efforts that you're taking on and others are taking on are going to help people give more room for representing what coffee can be and is in a lot of cases, but people don't feel like they have permission to, because they have all these instances of some high profile and others not so high profile being demoted or docked points for little things that are not in any way related to being a professional barista. So what in the last year has been the biggest highlight for you from this, from Glitter Cat? I know you had some placements, some pretty high placements from the graduates. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. So we had 4 out of 10, so 40% qualify for nationals. And that's qualifying for nationals is not an easy feat at all. I didn't qualify my first year. And then it took me 3 years to qualify for semifinals. And from there, and I give that context because of the 4 that qualified for nationals, we had 3 qualify for semifinals, and then we had one of them, which was Emily Orendorf. She qualified for finals, which her making finals was my win for the year.
Nice.
It's my competition 2019 win. Among a lot, my wins for the year are very long. I'm so proud of all of the Glitter Cats. But Emily really showcasing a very raw, true to herself presentation where she found resources, she used them, and she applied them. She deserved that spot, and she earned it, and she went on stage and gave us an incredible presentation, which was all about burnout. So she went on stage and talked about being burnt out and feeling unmotivated and how do we refine that. And it truly was spectacular to watch.
Sweet,
so
congrats.
those are like the tangible, like Glitter Cat showed up. We did what we wanted to do. Like we wanted to add diversity and flair to the top tiers of barista competition stages, and we did, which was kind of cool. And really they did. I created a program that pulled resources and education and put it into one room and one Google Drive, and they took it and applied it.
So awesome. Congrats. And, I want to sort of go in the direction of asking about your advice for people out there who are seeing a need. It might be something not related to competition. They want to organize action. They want to take action on a need they see in their community, their coffee community, or whatever it might be. Like, organizing something to take action takes a lot of dedication, and you've been through this. People can feel powerless, and they just want to do something but don't know where to start. So based on what you've learned from this, what ways could you encourage people to take action on issues they really want to address in their communities?
I think my biggest advice right off the bat is finding what you're passionate about and having that be your personal baby, like your child that you want to grow and develop. We all have different things that we really, truly are passionate about. So find yours. And then from there, ask questions. Find people in your community, people that you know. Reach out to me on Instagram or however you have my contact information, and just start asking questions of, I see this problem. This is the solution I want to find, and how do you want to go about it? It could be community organizing. It could be panel discussions. It could be bringing together like-minded people to have active conversations to start brainstorming. How do we as a group start finding a solution to this? How do we reach out to more people from that have a similar desire for change? And I am constantly asking questions. Like I said, Glitter Cat started because I asked Sarah Allen, hey, I have this idea. What do you think about it? And I needed her encouragement to be like, no, the industry needs this. And if you're the person that can start this, you should definitely do it. And so I've learned the power of asking. And I've been connected with dozens of people that I have never would have thought I would have had conversations with, just because they weren't in my circles and I didn't know who they were. But someone that I asked was like, hey, I have this friend who actually runs their own product company that I think you would really want to talk to you about how to start your online shop, or things like that. So it's just finding your own path and not staying tied to what you see as what we all see as the current issues in coffee, or what's being addressed right now. And I think there's dozens of ways to make impacts, and dozens of different walks of life that we all come from. And so finding your passion, asking questions, and just keep doing it. Just don't stop. We need what you want to bring to the table, even if we don't see it yet.
What do you think they should be prepared to experience and take on? Because there's the challenge of this, the brainstorming of something and the idea of it, and then there's the implementation, and there's definitely ups and downs with that. Like, what are the personal and logistical challenges that people should be prepared to take on?
For me, it became, I don't want to say it became my life, but it became a constant train ride in my brain about it's just kind of always there. And that's exciting and also exhausting. I was recently talking with another creative coffee people named Kat, and she developed like this zine to bring together artwork and music and photos from people, from effectively marginalized people as well, to just give them voices, an alternative voice to have their artwork portrayed. Mm-hmm. And we were talking about, how do you work a full-time job and put together this zine and like do all these things? And it's hard. It really is. It's difficult, and it's not with a lot of other support. So I have Like, I don't do Glitter Cat's design work. You don't want me doing design. I'm terrible at it. So like my best friend Kelsey, she does all of Glitter Cat's design work, and it's a lot of patience on both of our ends, realizing that this is on top of everything we want to do, but this is where our passion and excitement lie. So I think the biggest obstacle is sometimes I feel defeated before I even start. Going into this year, I knew that we needed to raise a significant amount more money, and just that was demoralizing. And staying motivated through difficult times is really tough. But knowing that what you're doing is important and exciting and energizing, I think is really what can kind of keep me going. Specific to Glitter Cat, we wanted to create a business entity right away, because I really do want this program to be around for a while, and I wanted to kind of follow as many legal avenues as we could. So we started as an LLC, and what we just started changing to actually is a nonprofit. But along with trying to get that nonprofit status comes lawyer fees and accounting fees, and I moved states in the last year. So I had to figure out how to transfer those tax IDs to New York City. And it's a lot of logistical things that kind of come out of nowhere that you can't necessarily fully research, and rolling with those changes, just really being flexible and realizing that things are going to evolve very differently than you originally thought they were going to, in really exciting ways, and sometimes very scary and terrifying ways.
I'll bet. I mean, it just fits right along with being a barista, and you get so much time of your day is spent cleaning and doing stocking stuff, and then some part of it is spent doing the stuff that you see on stage at competitions, right?
Yep.
It's because of all that other stuff that the high profile can actually happen. So I love that you talked about that in doing this long term too. It feels like that's a real key. Like if you want to see a lot of results, but you're not committed to it long term, it might be really difficult to overcome some challenges.
Yeah, like I've been hours on my couch, like drafting up contracts and invoices, and figuring out how to design a website and put logos in certain places. And those aren't things that I necessarily want to be doing or am excited about, but they really are like that nitty gritty, taking out the trash, realness that comes with putting together a boot camp and bringing people together. And like, that's what I want to be doing. But sitting on Excel spreadsheets and really analyzing that is what needs to be done. And I am learning to enjoy it. It's just repetitive, and it can be relaxing, and you get to snuggle with your cats and drink some coffee on the couch, and it's been good for me.
There you go. Nice.
The cats like that I'm home. The one thing that I am really learning is that balance of when do you have to turn off your personal business? When do you have to turn off your full-time job? When do you have to like really take time to recharge for yourself? And that going into this year was just accepting this trainer position and growing a Glitter Cat and just moving to New York City. I just moved in with my boyfriend that I'm super excited about, and exploring a new city. We've had many conversations about how to balance all of it. So like just today, we took all morning. He took off work this morning and we went to the beach, which New York City has amazing beaches, which is shocking. I had no idea. And so we just spent the morning just relaxing with each other and doing that, and then working this afternoon, and the rest of the week, and just making time for yourself and personal development and recharging, and however you need to do that. It's been really important. And I think going into this next 6 months is something that I need to constantly remind myself of.
That's very wise. Yeah. What do you think that owners of businesses, people with financial resources, can do to help help the underrepresented people within their company, or open their doors of their cafes to more unrepresented people groups? Because what you're doing with this is a response to a lack in competitions, but might as well be also to the cafe as well in some cases. And the resources that you got put behind you in Elixir is a great example of what those resources can do. So on the shop level, what can owners do to embrace and bring in and help more underrepresented people?
I think the first and foremost thing is hiring diversely. Like hiring not just men, or not just white people, not just straight people, but really intentionally hiring incredible people that come from a wide variety of backgrounds. And that's only going to help your shop. I was just talking with someone about one of the coffee professionals here in New York City who's done a lot of hiring, Liz Dean. She puts ads on Craigslist to try and reach a wider audience and array of people to apply for positions. We need people from various backgrounds representing their communities. I have learned so much from people that aren't from my, general circle that I, the cafes that I have worked in. I've learned so much. And Glitter Cat was a big thing for me with learning from so many people from different backgrounds. I learned more about myself and more about competition and more about how to develop as a person than I could have imagined. And that was really exciting. And then from there, investing in your people and sending various people to competitions if that's the avenue that you want to go, or maybe there's some kind of educational opportunity in your community, paying someone extra to develop some kind of training program. It's about really investing and giving the resources to those people, and in whatever way you have those kind of resources. And so often, I think we can see the same people on stages from the same companies getting the same investments, and diversifying that and allowing different people to educate and re-educate and learn and have a more of a cyclical situation going on where everyone's kind of a team and working together. And I think it's probably the biggest advice there, but it really is about hiring diversely and then investing in that.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a challenge in some sense with owners, in people in charge of hiring, because if you're not managing your time well as a manager, and you get behind the eight ball, so to speak, and you just need to hire somebody quickly, and you don't invest enough time. And there's a whole world of what you just said about caring for yourself and taking time and giving margin for those moments is probably good advice for them too, because you need to have a mind that's a little bit more, it has more perspective to be able to take on something like that, mindfully, or else it's just going to constantly be what's very convenient, but not maybe necessarily the best.
Yeah, and I think we have exactly like you said, there's a learning curve that goes with it. When I was in Wisconsin and I was managing a cafe, I talked about this on a panel I was on with a few other people at Coffee Fest New York. But one of my greatest failures as a manager was I was managing our flagship. So I was sent baristas from other cafes, and, as kind of you're doing a good job, now you're at the flagship kind of situation. And I ended up having a staff of all white men for 8 months. until one of my fellow cafe managers was like, yo, T-Ben, like, you only have white men on your staff. Like, that's not okay. And it was a huge eye-opening moment for me, which it shouldn't have been. Like, it was clear. And this was like 4 years ago. And I was just like, I can't believe that, like, first of all, you're the first person saying this to me. Like, thank you for coming to me. Like, that's not your job. Like, this is my job to have noticed this and to have fixed that. And that was a huge learning opportunity for me. Cause I mean, all of them were incredible workers. And, but just like that, like I said, is one of my biggest failures as a manager was not checking myself on that hiring practices.
It sounds like you were just sort of in your own head. Like, it wasn't even something that was registering. Maybe were you super busy all the time? And that was one of the things that was sort of like, I know how to hire people or get the best people. And that's sort of like an automatic thing that happened.
Yeah. And like, you bring up such a unique point that, like, so many of us, this privilege of not noticing, and that we need to check that privilege and notice.
That's the case for pretty much any cafe in any town. There's going to be friends of friends, and it can get into this sort of cycle of nepotism where it perpetuates itself, and you can just interrupt that and create a new cyclical process, like you were talking about, build momentum in another direction. So I think what you've been sharing here, I think, is really, really valuable. Not just for people who are baristas who want to, compete and should apply to be Glitter Cats, but also owners and operators who need to, be inspired to take action within their own ecosystem of business. So this has really been valuable. What's year two? You're going to be around for a while. What's next on the schedule for Glitter Cat?
Year two, we are expanding beyond the barista bootcamp. So we are in the works of planning a barista bootcamp round 2, a brewer's cup bootcamp, a roasting bootcamp, and a coffee and good spirits bootcamp.
Wow. And
hoping to include some judges training in there. So we're going to host. That's basically 4 boot camps for all of them. And with cup tasters, we're trying to put together some kind of like a training program. Cup tasters really is the long game. Bring people into cup coffee for 2.5 days would be a lot of palate fatigue. We're not the queue. So yeah, we with the support that Glitter Cat got this last year, and with what we saw as a successful year, we got together and we're talking about how do we want to grow this program, and really it was all of the competitions deserve to be diverse. They need to be diverse, and if we have the resources and the ability to help make that happen outside of only barista, let's do it. It's a huge challenge for me because I am not super familiar with a lot of these other roles. So a lot of my time right now is researching these roles and talking to successful champions. And like, I'm not an instructor at these, so it's pulling together instructors and developing these training programs. But yeah, we're super excited. I cannot wait to go to the roasting boot camp and be a fly on the wall, getting like whatever that needs to be gotten together, listening to these instructors talk about how to be a successful roaster and what green coffee grading is. So selfishly, I kind of get some really unique and special education as well, which I'm kind of happy about.
Right.
And I think, yeah, so that's kind of our goal. And then we want to do a few more community events as well. So each boot camp has a big public community event that gets associated with it. That's some kind of competition. that's tied to that respective competition. So the roasting one will have some kind of roasting public competition, maybe not actually roasting, but something similar to that. Kind of have to see what the hosts, how much they want the public touching their machines, kind of thing. And then Brewers Cup is like brewing, things like that. And then trying to do one or two events, either at the competitions or at SCA, just building these safe spaces for marginalized folks to come and feel a competitive atmosphere, but that's mostly about meeting people and developing these relationships and these friendships and kind of having a good time together.
Awesome, man. So quite a bit in here too.
Yeah.
A lot of challenges and opportunities all at the same time. That's pretty awesome. How can people stay in touch with you and Glitter Cat and keep up to date with all of these things?
Mm-hmm. Our biggest avenue for that is Instagram. With application processes, we'll be doing a lot of stories, follow the highlight reel. And then we also have our website, which is glittercatbarista.com, that stays pretty up to date with all the information. And actually on that website, you can pursue or peruse the 2019 boot camp. And we actually, all of the Glitter Cats this last year got to go to Colombia for a week.
Nice.
Palmi El Tucan brought us down and housed us, and it was truly spectacular to see this other side of this industry. And we got to meet some of the baristas at the cafe in Bogota. And it was just this beautiful coming together of two communities that it was magical. It was really fabulous. But there's photos from that trip. There's one of the Glitter Cats write-ups. We're trying to really make the website a representation of the Glitter Cats and share their stories and allow them to have some presence and some excitement and to showcase what they're doing in the industry right now. That's a good place, a good resource as well. And we're trying to keep that a little more dynamic as we move forward into the other boot camps. In the next couple of weeks, so middle of July is when we're looking to launch the applications for the 2020 boot camp. And we'll be posting a lot about it. So if you follow us on Instagram, you won't miss it.
Right. Excellent. So follow them on Instagram. Stay tuned. And T-Ben, thank you so much for joining us on the show and sharing about this program and all that you're accomplishing for the industry. We're really an honor to have you. And thank you so much.
Thank you. It's been great. Thanks for having me.
Well, one of the great things that I think we can take away from this conversation, amongst many great things, is that no matter what it is you're passionate about, if you want to take action, if you want to make a difference, chances are there are lots of other people around you, or at least some other people around you, that also want the same thing. And it's often the case, I think, that we can talk about a problem, we can talk about it amongst ourselves, but sometimes it's just one person who is going to dedicate a substantial amount of time to actually take on the issue and mobilize the desire of the group. And it seems this is what T-Ben has done with Glitter Cat Barista and has really strongly impacted the results in the barista competitions and will continue to do so. And again, this doesn't have to be something as large scale as what Glitter Cat Barista is doing. It can be just something that in your town you want to take on. And it doesn't have to be based in competition. It can just be like, we were talking about animal welfare, or you want to help the homeless in your community, or whatever that happens to be for you. You can take a page from T-Ben's playbook, an example in this talk. Be inspired, know what to expect, and know that it's possible to make a difference in that area. And if T-Ben and the community that he's mobilized around Glitter Cat can impact something as large as the competition machine, then I think whatever it is that you're thinking of right now can be positively impacted by you. So I want to thank T-Ben for joining us on the show and leading by example, making a difference in the coffee community. And we're really thankful for you, T-Ben. And best of luck in year 2 to you and all of the people at Glitter Cat. If you want to find out more information or sign up for Glitter Cat boot camp coming up and all the other boot camps that they are going to be taking on in year 2, you can go to glittercatbarista.com. And then also be sure to follow them on Instagram. That's Glitter Cat Barista. Now, as always, if you want to reach out to me, you can do so by emailing chris@keystotheshop.com. I want to hear your questions, comments, feedback, things like that. That's also the email to use if you want to reach out and inquire about hiring Keys to the Shop Consulting to help you in training your baristas, your staff, and really help you optimize your systems in your store, help you with your hiring, your culture, your operations. This is what Keys to the Shop Consulting is all about. Again, chris@keystotheshop.com. I hope to see you in Indianapolis this weekend. If you're in the Midwest, I will be giving a few talks at Coffee Fest in Indianapolis Coffee Fest just in a few days here, starting the 31st through the 2nd of June. And I would encourage you to attend Coffee Fest. It's not too late. You can sign up right now. You can sign up when you arrive. But I would definitely recommend that you do so. If you want to learn more about coffee retail, if you want to up your game and rub elbows with the best people in the coffee community, you definitely want to be going to Coffee Fest. So go visit coffeefest.com, learn more information about that. Hope to see you there. So that's it for today's show. Thank you so much for joining me. Always a pleasure to have you. And as always, I hope that this episode has truly given you keys to the shop.